Hello and welcome to News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Catherine and joining me today is Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Catherine. Good morning and hello to our audience. Today's story is about former US President Donald Trump. Mr. Trump was acquitted or found not guilty at his recent impeachment trial.
Now, don't forget, if you want more on this story and to do a quiz, just go to our website, bbclearningenglish.com. Now let's hear more about this story from this BBC News report.
Donald Trump has suggested that he will return to politics after he was acquitted in his second impeachment trial in the United States Senate. The Senate fell short of the two-thirds majority needed to find him guilty of incitement to insurrection over the attack by his supporters on Congress last month.
So, Donald Trump's impeachment trial has ended. The trial aimed to establish whether Mr. Trump was responsible for causing the attack on the US Congress last month. Mr. Trump was acquitted or found not guilty in the case, and this is the second time that this has happened.
Okay, and you've been looking at the headlines around this story, haven't you, Tom? What words have you picked out for us today?
Our words and expressions for today, Catherine, are sad chapter, rifts, and kerfuffle.
Sad chapter, rifts and kerfuffles. So let's take a look at your first headline.
My first headline is from India. It's the Hindustan Times. It says, Trump acquitted, Biden calls it sad chapter for democracy.
Sad chapter, a negative period. Now, what can you tell us about this word, Tom?
Let's begin with chapter. Chapter is a noun, C-H-A-P-T-E-R, and a chapter is a part of a book.
A part of a book, so part of a story. Now, what's this got to do with Trump, Biden, democracy? What's going on?
Good question. So, if we think about, let's begin with the headline. The headline talks about Mr. Biden's quote that Trump's acquittal was a sad chapter or a negative period for American democracy. If you think about democracy as a sort of a lifeline or a story, Mr. Biden is saying that the acquittal marks a negative period in this ongoing story.
Okay, got it. So, a chapter is like a period of life. In this case, a period of the kind of story of democracy. So, we can only use chapter when we're talking about big things like democracy and world events, or can you use it to talk about a period of your own personal life?
Very good question. No, we don't just use chapter for sort of important things. We can use it a lot in our personal life as well. For example, when I went to university, that was the start of a new chapter in my life. It was something completely different that I'd never done before.
A happy chapter, Tom?
It was a very happy chapter, yeah, happy and exciting chapter, you could say.
Okay, any other expressions that we can use relating to sort of chapters of our lives?
When a chapter ends, we can use another expression related to books, which is turn the page. So if you turn the page on a chapter, you end it, you begin a new portion.
Nice explanation. Okay, well, it's time to turn the page on this chapter of News Review, and we're going to finish this section with a summary.
Very good.
So we're talking today about Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, but a while ago we talked about his first impeachment trial, didn't we, Tom?
We did in the BBC offices, and you can find that video by clicking the link.
Can we now have your second headline?
Of course, my second headline comes from the Financial Times in the UK. It says, Senate acquittal exposes deep Republican rifts over Trump, and that word is rifts.
Rifts, serious breaks or separations. Now, this word's a noun, isn't it, Tom?
It is, it's plural. The singular noun is rift, R-I-F-T, and a rift is a serious break or separation.
And we often use this in geographical terms, don't we, to describe geographical features?
Yeah, so literally, a rift is a crack or a break or a split. So you could have a rift in clouds or rocks, for example. Of a valley, if you think about a valley, you know, two high sides with a space in between them, a valley is a rift. It's just a really big rift.
Big geography then. These are big. You don't get a little rift in a pebble or a little small rock you can hold in your hand.
Yeah, like there are no rifts under my shoe. Do you know what I mean? We're using this economy of sort of we're using this language of large scale. So we normally use it for sort of important and momentous things. So when we use rift figuratively, we're talking about a split or a division between people who had been on good terms. So let's go back to that headline. It says, Senate acquittal exposes deep Republican rifts over Trump. What this is saying is that, what the headline says is that Donald Trump's acquittal has shown that there is a big gap between Republicans, between his own party. You know, they're very far away from each other and they've split.
So they really don't agree and they're not getting on.
Exactly.
Okay. And we only use this to talk about kind of big people in politics, or can you have a rift in the family if you really fall out with somebody in your family?
You can have a rift in a lot of things, and we can use it a lot in our day-to-day life as well. For example, we could have a rift in a family, as you said, or rift in a relationship, or a rift in a marriage.
Okay.
Notice that I said in as well.
Yeah. Prepositions so, in. Any other so there's preposition in. Anything else we can use?
Two main prepositions we use with rift. One is in and the other one is between. So with the headline, we could say there is a rift in the Republican Party, or we could say there is a rift between Republicans in the party.
So a rift in a thing, and the rift between is followed by the people or the organisations who are in disagreement.
Exactly, very well put. And there are some verbs we can use with rift as well. You can open a rift when it begins, and when it closes, you can heal or mend a rift.
Nice. Thank you for that. Let's have a summary. And talking of things splitting up, we've got an archive story about the EU and the UK, haven't we, Tom?
We do, yes. This is a story on the split that happened over the issue of Brexit, and you can find it by clicking the link.
Thank you very much. Now let's have your next headline.
Our next headline is from the BBC. It says, Johnson, US democracy strong after Trump impeachment kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle. Nice British English word. Tom, what can you tell us about it?
So, a kerfuffle. A kerfuffle is a disturbance or fuss over a minor issue. So it's a disturbance over something which isn't important. What's interesting about kerfuffle is it's a feature of spoken English, and you almost never see it written as in the headline. So we'd say it quite often, but you very rarely see it written. An example of a kerfuffle over a disturbance or fuss over a minor issue. Let's think about Rob in the office. The other day, Rob couldn't find his biscuits. He said, "Who stole all my biscuits?" He started to scream, he started to shout, and then eventually he found his biscuits. Biscuits, not a big issue. There's no need to scream and shout, Rob. Rob was creating a kerfuffle. We could say, what a kerfuffle. Or, such a big kerfuffle over nothing.
So, without making too much of a kerfuffle about the word kerfuffle, let's have a summary. Now, Tom, time to recap the vocabulary, if you would.
Yeah, of course. Today's vocabulary, we have sad chapter, negative period, rifts, serious breaks or separation, and kerfuffle, disturbance or fuss over a minor issue.
And you can test yourself on today's vocabulary with the quiz on our website. You can find us all over social media too. So thank you for watching and goodbye for now. Bye.
And see you next time.